Coming up, two men appear in court accused of killing a young mother in Coventry 23 years ago.
The ancient windmill under threat from new builds.
And players rejoice as Walsall head to Wembley for the first time in their 127-year history. Coming up, the family of a young mother from Coventry who's been missing for 23 years have renewed their appeal to help find her body.
Now the latest from ITV News Central in the Midlands.
Wednesday's edition of ITV News Central. Welcome. On our programme tonight, Nicola Payne's family see two men appear in court accused of the young mother's murder. She was last seen 23 years ago.
The historic windmill under threat from the need for modern homes.
There is no other windmill like this. The landscape ahead of us, we would say, would be devastated.
And a historic moment for Walsall as their Wembley dream comes true. Good evening. The family of a teenage mother from Coventry who's been missing for 23 years have renewed their appeal to help find her body on the day that two men appeared in court charged with her murder.
18-year-old Nicola Payne hasn't been seen since she disappeared after walking home from her boyfriend's house in the Henley Green area of the city in December 1991. Stacey Foster sent this report from Birmingham Magistrates Court.
Nigel Barwell and Thomas O'Reilly appeared briefly here in court this morning, confirming their names, addresses and dates of birth. They were told they'd both been charged jointly with the murder of Nicola Payne 23 years ago. Outside of court, police gave a short statement saying they were still committed to finding Nicola's body.
Yesterday's charges and today's court appearance marks a significant milestone in the search for what happened to Nicola Payne on the 14th of December 1991. West Midlands Police are committed to finding out exactly what happened on that day, and the thrust of the investigation now turns to finding Nicola's remains.
Nicola's parents and other members of her family were in court to witness this latest development in the case this morning. Her aunt read a few words outside of court.
Although this is a significant step, our ultimate aim has always been to find Nicola in order to bring some peace to our family. The past 23 years have been extremely difficult, and we would urge anybody with any information to contact West Midlands Police or Crime Stoppers. Thank you.
Both defendants were remanded into custody and will appear at Birmingham Crown Court on Friday. Stacey Foster, ITV News.
A lorry driver has been jailed for 8 months after he narrowly missed a recovery driver who was securing a vehicle just off the M6. CCTV shows the moment Terence Pullman swerves off the inside lane and across the hard shoulder, ploughing into the worker who broke his back in two places. It happened in April last year between junctions 6 and 7 on the M6. Pullman was also banned from driving for 2 years.
Birmingham City Council has been cleared of any responsibility for the deaths of twin baby girls who died when paramedics were unable to access a locked tower block. Both Melody and Rose suffered multiple organ failure. Their mother, Jocelyn Bennett, was left in a coma for 2 weeks. The authority says it will review procedures into how emergency services should get access to buildings.
Next tonight, a battle over an ancient windmill, historic countryside, and the need to provide more housing.
A council wants to create a new town and land for Jaguar Land Rover to expand, but some locals say it'll be a scar on the landscape, as Mark Goff reports.
High above the Warwickshire countryside is Chesterton Windmill. It's been here since 1632. And it's one of the ancient architectural treasures of the Midlands. But now it's at the heart of a battle royal over the need to build more houses in the countryside, and of the locals' wish not to blot the landscape. They say it isn't the windmill which is at risk from the new housing, but the view from here because over in the distance, Stratford District Council says it needs to build 3,000 new homes. Stratford Council says the area needs more housing. The protesters don't dispute this. What they do dispute is putting them here.
This is an asset which is truly unique in the way that many aren't. There is no other windmill like this. Its setting is an important part of what makes it an important feature in this particular area. The landscape ahead of us, we would say, would be devastated by this settlement. It is its principal view upon approaching the windmill. It is the principal vista upon which it is set, and that will be gone forevermore if this town is built in the immediate vicinity.
They'll link the villages of Lighthorn Heath, Lighthorn, Chesterton and Gaydon, and it'll become the second biggest settlement in Warwickshire after Stratford-upon-Avon. It'll effectively be a completely new town. There's no planning application in yet. These proposals are part of Stratford's core strategy, its ideas on what it wants and what it needs for the future. And there's something else on the horizon. As part of the development, the council wants to set aside 100 hectares of land so Jaguar Land Rover can expand its Gaydon operation. The council says the expansion will be substantial and will include a substantial number of jobs. Privately, Jaguar Land Rover says there aren't any plans, but it wants to protect land around it in case it expands in the future. But it's the new town which is worrying the protesters, who've collected 2,000 names on a government e-petition. Stratford District Council said it's envisaged that the new homes on those parts of the site visible from the windmill would be low-density dwellings arranged on tree-lined streets, and the impact on views from the windmill is considered to be limited and will be mitigated by appropriate layout and landscaping. They say it's unlikely that the existing towns in the Stratford district can expand enough to accommodate another 3,000 homes, and more than a third of the new ones will be affordable housing. The new town will be more than a kilometre away from Chesterton Windmill, but the council says it believes that it's the right place in which to create a new community. If approved, houses could be built here in the next decade, but not without a fight. Mark Goff, ITV News, Warwickshire.
Changes to what constitutes a major incident for hospitals in the West Midlands has triggered a big row at Westminster. Labour says new guidelines issued by the NHS to local hospitals risk compromising patient safety.
But the Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, dismissed the allegation as part of an opposition policy to weaponise the NHS. We join our political correspondent, Alison McKenzie. Alison, what's this about?
Well, you remember back in early January, 3 hospitals in the West Midlands declared a major incident. They were Walsall Manor, Royal Stoke and one at Stafford. What it meant was they could call in extra staff, cancel non-urgent operations and deal with the pressures. Well, the NHS locally has issued new criteria saying be sure of several things before you declare a major incident. That has to be clarified, they say. Well, Labour have seized on that, saying it's political interference. You want fewer major incidents declared, and he accused the government of getting involved in that. Jeremy Hunt furious in the House of Commons today. This is his response.
As confirmed by NHS England this morning, this was an operational decision. It was nothing to do with ministers. This was the local NHS doing its best to get good guidelines out in a tough winter.
Made it plain. Well, the argument spilled onto the House of Commons main chamber. Many Birmingham MPs on their feet, including Gisela Stewart, the Edgbaston Labour MP. She said, you talk about localisation, operational matters. She says that's not how the medical staff that she represents see it. She said, get a grip, Mr Hunt. This was her comment to him.
I have A&E consultants who tell me that they're no longer just overworked and overstretched, that they are actually unsafe. Could he therefore follow the call from the Shadow Secretary of State and say that if he thinks the guidance is purely operational without any political interference, he issues a new set of guidance and actually makes it clear, because that is simply not how it's seen on the ground.
The only thing that I say as Health Secretary with respect to instructions going out is that patient safety must always be the priority, and that is what I've said time after time.
There you have it, the NHS centre ground already. Could there be an election around the corner? Well, you bet. It'll be a key talking point and debate. The row started tonight in the West Midlands. It'll extend far beyond us in the days to come.
Indeed so. Alison, thank you for that report.
Now, yesterday marked the 70th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp, where more than 1 million people were murdered. But before the outbreak of war, around 10,000 Jewish children from Germany, Austria and Czechoslovakia were sent to the UK.
One of them was Bernard Grunberg from Derby. He was just 15 when he was sent away by his parents. He now gives talks about his experience to school children. He's been speaking to our correspondent Phil Brewster and began by recalling what life was like as a Jewish child in Nazi Germany.
Constant bullying and physical and mental attacks every time you were in the playground, between lessons and on the way home. You became totally isolated. You'd got no friends anywhere. Most people that were persecuted never ever thought that would come to the end would come for them to be murdered, but always thought Hitler wouldn't last that long.
In November 1938, things took a violent turn for the worse when synagogues in Germany were set on fire and destroyed. Jewish shops also had their windows smashed and were looted. For his own safety, Bernard's parents took the momentous decision to send him away. Aged just 15, he was put on a train along with other children destined to be sent to the UK. It would be the last time he saw his parents.
Amongst all the things my mother had to think about, she put the family photo album in the suitcase. And for that reason, I've got masses of photos in comparison to what most of the other children got.
But even as Bernard and the other children sped towards the Dutch border, the Nazi guards on board continued to torment them.
They left us alone till they got to the last town in Germany. The train stopped and they came through the compartments and opened suitcases at random and took anything and everything that they either wanted for themselves or took out just to destroy.
Bernard eventually arrived in Britain, where he spent several months in refugee camps before finding a job on a dairy farm. For the next 40 years he clung to the hope he would be reunited with his family. It was only when he returned to his hometown of Lingen he learned his parents, Marianne and Bendrix, and his sister Gerda, had been sent to a concentration camp near the Latvian capital Riga.
There was a girl about 2 years older than myself that was born in the same town, and she'd been at Riga. She was arrested with her own parents and my parents and sister, and after being literally forced to tell me, she told me what had happened, and then obviously that night I found out that I would never see my parents or sister again. And that night in the hotel in Germany, I cried all night. I never slept. And the pillowcase next morning must have been soaking wet. The tears have never stopped and never will.
Now aged 91, Bernard gives talks to school children about his experiences through his involvement with the National Holocaust Centre.
I've been asked many a time, don't you think it's time to forgive or forget? Can anybody that could put themselves in my position, would they ever forgive and forget? The other thing I'm often asked, oh, you've had a hard life, terrible hard life, this, that and the other. I totally disagree with that. Why? Look, there were 6 million Jewish people amongst I don't know how many millions that were murdered. I'm alive.
Indeed, Bernard Grunberg sharing his memories with Phil Brewster.
You're watching ITV News Central. Still to come tonight, Walsall look forward to their first ever trip to Wembley.
And in the weather, skies cleared for most of us today, but how long before the wintry stuff returns? It's already feeling colder. All the details with me a bit later in the programme.
Now, have you ever arrived at work, school or university feeling a bit lethargic and unable to concentrate when those around you seem bright and breezy? It could be that you're just not a morning person. How about that?
Well, how can you confirm your suspicions? Psychologists have come up with a new phone app which could be the answer, as Russell Hookey reports.
Hello.
Okay, it's no secret that students and early mornings rarely mix well. Late nights or alcohol could be a contributing factor, but in reality their body chemistry may play a part. Now a team at the Open University think their new app can work out whether you really are a morning or evening person.
It's a collection of 5 mini-games, which are actually psychological tests, each designed to test a different aspect of mental abilities. So the point of the app is to see how those different mental abilities vary across the day. You tend to find more morning types amongst women and more evening types amongst men, but that isn't fixed. You tend to find more morning types in older populations than younger, but again, that's not completely fixed. So it's a fascinating area.
Using the app reveals when our brains are at optimum efficiency.
The team have spent the last 2 years developing the app, which is available on both Apple and Android products. There are 5 games in each session, and after playing 3 sessions, you'll see a brainwave on screen, which will show you just how you're performing at various times of the day.
So we've asked 3 students to join us midway through the morning. They're being put through their paces by the new app, which should confirm when they're at their most productive.
I would say I'm definitely an evening person. I just kind of find it much more easier really to just kind of knuckle down and study or work in the evenings. It takes me a while to get going in the morning.
I think I did a bit better than I thought I would actually, because I'm not generally this good at this time of day, but it would be interesting to see the results later this evening.
Some of the games were really hard, which requires lots of concentration, and it being the morning, so it was quite hard for me. So it's actually better than I expected. So yeah, that was a nice surprise.
There's already huge interest in the Brainwave app. In 6 months' time, the team hopes sufficient numbers will have used it to demonstrate how many of us might benefit from early nights or long lie-ins.
How likely it is, do you think, we'll find a student who's a morning person?
I think that'd be very hard. Personally, I think most students are evening people.
Russell Hookey, ITV News.
I think we could all do with a long lie-in, don't you?
Well, certainly download the app anyway. Right, on to sport now, and it's up the Saddlers. Walsall are going to Wembley for the first time in their history for the final of the Johnston's Paint Trophy.
Yes, a 0-0 draw at home to Preston last night was enough to see them through over 2 legs after winning the first match 2-0. Manager Dean Smith expects it to be a huge day for the town. Matt Ratcliffe reports from the Banks of Stadium.
A song never sung in earnest at this stadium before, but after last night's result, Walsall are finally going to Wembley.
It means an awful lot. I think you could see from the reaction from the supporters. 10 days before the game it was sold out, and the reaction after was brilliant, and it just came home to me how much it means to a lot of people. There's a lot of really good people at this football club who work here and who support it, and it means an awful lot for them to get to Wembley. I'm very proud to be the one that can lead them out at Wembley for the first time in their 127-year history.
Walsall have tasted success in finals before. They won promotion to the old Division 1 through the playoffs, but that was at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. Wembley is just that little bit special.
Massive fans, dream come true for everybody at the club. 127 years away for this, so it's massive.
Yeah, never been to Wembley, looking forward to go. It's first time for everything, so it should be good.
It's a big thing for Walsall, really looking forward to it, hope they do well.
It was a proud night for Walsall and for the Black Country and the club. It's nice to see them making some money and all that. and having a good run and all that.
Just means everything, obviously. A number of people that are going to be going to Wembley. You know, we always said, like, if Walsall ever get to Wembley, I'll go to Wembley, and there'll be thousands down there. It'll be a fantastic day out.
I think that their name's written on the cup. Just have a feeling about it. Their name's written on the cup.
Sales at the club shop have already received a boost after last night's win in front of 9,000 supporters. They'll be playing in front of many more than that at Wembley. Tickets go on sale a week on Friday, and fans will have to be quick to snap up the 20,000 initially available. The club will be hoping that the same level of support can back the team to a promotion push late on in the season. Matt Ratcliffe, ITV News, Walsall.
Listening to those fans, it's a done deal, isn't it?
Well, yeah, sounds like it.
They haven't got a match to go yet.
Now then, time for the second in our series as we start to look forward to the Rugby World Cup later this year. As we saw last night, the RFU is hoping the tournament will provoke more interest in the game, both playing and watching.
However, although the World Cup is expected to be a catalyst, there's plenty of work going on already to get youngsters interested in the sport. Rachel Ward has been to meet former England international Paul Saki, who's now Wasps ambassador, about taking rugby into schools.
Flashing forward, picked up by Saki.
To be picked for your national team is the biggest honour ever. Then to be picked to go to a World Cup makes it even more special. It's one of those feelings where you'll never ever experience again.
Saki.
From the cauldron of the 2007 World Cup to the playgrounds of the West Midlands, Paul Saki is using his skills and experience to inspire young children, hopefully falling in love with rugby and maybe even unearthing stars of the future.
It's fun, you can run around a lot. I also like getting muddy. It just gets you off your computer and it gives you some fresh air. And don't disagree with the referee, go with what he says.
The message is, it's not just for boys. At this point of development, mixed rugby is possible, even if some of the boys don't like it.
It's okay, but most boys don't pass you because they think that the girls are weaker, so they don't pass you. But where I play, they do pass you, no matter if you're a girl or a boy.
It's a team game, not a single game, so you should always pass to your teammates.
I'm a winger like Paul, and it's quite fun to be a winger with an international English-like player.
Walsall Common Primary School is renowned for its sport, but while the children are having fun, they're also learning skills useful off the rugby pitch.
We believe that the core values of our game, teamwork, respect, enjoyment, discipline, sportsmanship, are exactly the core values that the majority of schools, if not all schools, would want their students to portray. So rugby's a great opportunity to learn some skills and some lessons that will be important in life, full stop.
For us to get in at grassroots and try and help and get them enjoying rugby and wanting to be like some of these superstars, Christian Wade, Haskell, Andy Good, I'd say, because he's from around here anyway, and just looking up to these guys and making them their role models. That's what we're trying to do.
And tomorrow night we'll be looking back at one of the best days in English rugby history. Leicester Tigers legend Neil Back recalls his memories of the day England beat Australia to win the World Cup and the frenzied reaction of the fans back home.
Now, a lovely reunion tale now. You may have seen on our website the story of a mother who was given money and a handwritten note while travelling on a train with her young son.
Sammy Welsh was on a busy Birmingham train when she was given a £5 note and a piece of paper describing her as a credit to her generation. It praised her for being polite and teaching her son Rylan good manners.
Well, after a social media campaign to trace her mystery benefactor, they've all been reunited. Sammy and Ken Saunders appeared on ITV's Good Morning Britain, where he explained why he left the note and money.
Thank you so much. I don't think you realise the impact you actually had on what you actually did for us. It's amazing.
I'm glad I did. I just wanted to put a smile on your face.
Yeah, you did. I think I looked shocked at first because I couldn't believe it, but then I was looking for you. I couldn't see anything. I could only see my own reflection in the window. And Rylan, you've got something for Ken, haven't you? What have you got for him?
A card.
And what do you want to say to him?
Thank you.
Right then, I think we've got some snow on the way. Here's Emma Jesson with the forecast.
What's in store for today? ITV Local Weather, sponsored by Centre Parks.
Hello there. Well, a cold front went through today. It did clear to brighter skies for some parts of the region, but a few wintry showers are following on behind it, much colder air tucking in behind as well. And there's still a smattering of wintriness across parts of the region too for Derbyshire, and we have a warning which has been issued by the Met Office in force for Derbyshire and Staffordshire. It's in place until midnight on Thursday night, and it is for snow. Could prove heavy in those areas, elsewhere lighter. But at higher levels, we could have 3 to 8 centimetres of snow accumulating by Thursday morning. Quite bad driving conditions in those places, with temporary blizzards possible tomorrow morning. So you can see that once this cold front went through, there was a real clearance behind it with brighter skies, but then showers tucking in behind and much colder temperatures tucking in behind as well. This was 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the evening. You can see the colours getting cooler, and you could feel everything getting cooler through the day as well. The wind really creating a wind chill, as it was rather strong. So overnight tonight, brisk winds, some wintry showers blowing in from the west, patchy frost, icy stretches. And tomorrow again, snowfalls, heavy snowfalls in the north. Those will turn to rain a little bit later on. Bye-bye.
ITV Local Weather, sponsored by Centre Parks.
And just before we go, a reminder of tonight's top stories on ITV News Central. The family of Nicola Payne have appealed for information to help find her body after 2 men appeared in court accused of the young mother's murder. The 18-year-old disappeared when she was walking home from her boyfriend's house in Coventry 23 years ago.
The Health Secretary is under pressure from Labour after NHS trusts in the West Midlands issued tougher criteria when hospitals can declare a major incident. Earlier this year, several here used the measure to free up beds and staff to cope with patient numbers.
And Walsall are off to Wembley for the first time in the club's history after reaching the final of the Johnston's Paint Trophy.
Fantastic news.
That's it from us,
yep.
Indeed. We'll be back tomorrow at the usual time, 6 o'clock. Do enjoy the evening. The national and international news is coming up next. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.